UFC Vegas 88. What was that? What was that? What the hell was that? What did we get out of bed for? Where to start with this entire card? Okay. Chelsea Chandler beats Joanne Nunes. Cut them. Cut them both. Cut them both. And not just cut them both, right? Cut the entire women's bantamweight division. I'm not just jumping on this train now because of that fight. I literally put out that video after the last title defense at women's bantamweight, okay? And it's not just because it's women's MMA. It is that entire division is a waste of space in the UFC, okay? Not because they're women, all right? I'm going to refer once again back to 2018, okay? When the news was coming out that the UFC were actually going to be cutting, suspending, stopping the men's flyweight division at 125 because it just didn't generate enough interest. What the hell is interesting about the women's bantamweight division right now? I'll tell you what it is. It's Kayla Harrison saying that she's going to come and fight at UFC 300. There are so many things wrong with that. Number one, Kayla Harrison could not make it to women's bantamweight, okay, if we left her out in the desert to starve for 6 months. She is not going to be making that weight at UFC 300. The second thing is, if the most impressive thing about that entire division is a PFL star, if the PFL is the most interesting thing about a UFC division, there is a serious problem with that division. If we can have a discussion about cutting a men's division, we can have a discussion about cutting a women's division. And if a woman that spent her last fight running away can unathletically win this fight, apparently she's been trained in how to fight MMA. You couldn't tell from watching that fight. Cut that entire goddamn division, all right? There are so many things wrong with it. It is crazy to me. So we can start with UFC Vegas 88 there and then just slowly work our way up the main card. And what was one of the most garbage events we have ever had, all right? So after that abysmal performance of whatever that was GM3. GM3, the GOAT, all right? The undefeated, undisputed, greatest of all time, GM3. Gerald Meerschaert, he defeats Brian Barbarena, submission, round 2. Cut Barbarena. Cut him. Fire him. He doesn't want to be there, or he doesn't want to be at any gym, apparently. He doesn't want to work out or put in any sort of athletic ability at all, okay? So just fire him. Get rid of him. You know, apparently he has opened his own gym, okay? Apparently he has set himself up in business so nicely that he can retire and he doesn't even need to try at MMA anymore. But listen, man, if that guy is running a gym, if Brian Barbarena is running a gym, that man, that body, that put on that performance on Saturday night, on fucking ESPN, on global television, on sports bars, all over the world. Okay, I'm from a city that is pretty much at the bottom of the planet, right? And there's sports bars all over the country, all over the city, set up for the day with these beer gardens so people can come out and get entertained in the sun on a Sunday. And they have this giant poster up, literally a giant poster up that says every single UFC fight shown here. That is the level of competition and sport that we're talking about. And fucking Brian Barbarena shows up with that rig to be put on that platform across the entire world, right? That guy. And then gets choked out by GM3. And then he rolls into a gym on Monday morning and asks some up-and-coming kid for money so that he can teach them how to do what he just did. Is that a joke? Is that actually a joke? These people want to be paid like NBA players, apparently, for doing for what we just saw on Saturday night, Sunday morning in Australia, UFC Vegas 88. They think they deserve to be paid as much as NBA players for that. And not only that, but Brian Barbarena wants you to pay him to teach you how to do what he just did. It's a joke, man. Christian Rodriguez defeats Isaac Dulgarian via decision. Robbery decision. A robbery decision. All right, I did a live stream for the prelims before we really got into the main cards, and I pretty much spent that entire live stream talking about the damage-based scoring system that we have in MMA and how it can be a little conflicting. But I cannot for the life of me see how you give Christian Rodriguez that fight. I just don't understand. It's that second round. That it's just a joke. It's a joke how you can give him that fight. And there's no repercussions for the bad judging. There's no repercussions at all. Sal D'Amato, the tomato, or whoever that bloody judge was. He doesn't get sent off for 6 months down to Bellator or LFA. Like, he doesn't get put on the regional scene for 8 months, and we bring in some new judge who's only been at it for 12 months, bring them into the Apex next week, so he can actually have some training. Instead, it's going to be this same judge, Sal the Tomato, is going to be in the Apex, right, giving Rose Namajunas a 10-8 because it was a nothing round and nothing happened, and there's a fly in the Apex, and Rose goes and swats the fly away, and he goes, oh, fuck it, 10-8. And there's no repercussions for any of that. That's just going to be allowed to happen again next week at the UFC Apex. Ovince St. Preux won a fight on this card. Ovince St. Preux, 40-year-old Ovince St. Preux, doesn't know if he's a heavyweight or light heavyweight. He beats Kennedy Nzechukwu. Decision. OSP is there to get beaten, Nzechukwu. He's there to get beaten, okay? He exists to build a name off the guy standing at the other side of him. That's you, Kennedy. That's why OSP is there. That is his purpose. If you can't beat OSP, you can't be in the UFC. It literally should be like in the contract. Like, if you're in there against OSP and you lose, you're instantly cut. We do not have to pay you for the rest of your contract. Cut them immediately. Kennedy Nzechukwu, I don't even know if the PFL would want you after losing to OSP. All right, and then Brian Battle versus Ange Loosa ends in a no contest. Okay, so we all saw it. We know what happened now. It was literally what happened after the fight was the most interesting thing about the entire fight night card, right? So there's a bit of a head clash, and on the separation of the head clash, Brian Battle maybe grazes the eye, and Ange Loosa is standing in the corner while the doctor gets brought in. Both eyes open, by the way. Oh, I can't see. Oh, mate, I can't bloody see what's going on around here, mate. Oh, you better call off the fight. And then because of that, right, because it's a no contest, Brian Battle now does not get the winning side of his paycheck. He only gets half of his pay, even though he put on like a dominant 10-8, 10-8, 10-8, 10-8, 10-8 performance. Now, because this Ange Loosa wants a way out, now he only gets half of his paycheck. So obviously Brian Battle is a little, I don't know, pissed off at that, I think. Fair enough. And Brian Battle just calls it how it is. He's like, you quit, mate. I was kicking the shit out of you, and you just wanted a way out of there. Then all of a sudden, Ange Loosa has got both eyes locked in, and he's ready to start swinging now. Why couldn't he get himself motivated before the fight? Did you not need half of your show money? Did you not need half of your money to win the fight? Where was this motivation before? You need to get angry to actually want to go and fight someone, right? Cut Ange Loosa as well. Cut him as well. If he doesn't want to go in there and try and just collect a paycheck, cut him too, And I hope the UFC, I hope Dana White, Hunter Campbell, someone in the UFC's back office or one of the accountants cuts Brian Battle a break and actually pays him for that fight, pays him his full, his half show pay plus his win bonus, and gives him fight of the night as well. Because what else are you going to do? Who else are we going to give it to fight of the night? The main event, Tuivasa, right? So cut Ange Loosa. He's on the cut list as well for this fucking weekend. Marcin Tybura. Okay, beats Tai Tuivasa, first round. Tai abandoned his fundamentals. What makes Tai so good is not just the walkout, not just the shoey, okay, but his fundamentals. He'll throw in the calf kick, and then he'll handle the boxing at range with a nice jab, a nice 1-2, get it up against the cage with some dirty boxing, and then he'll start swinging and banging if I dink him, I sink him. That's Tai Tuivasa's style. He gave up on that completely for some reason. He kept establishing the calf kicks, fine, but he also decided that he was going to add in this new wrinkle to his game. Being a guy with shorter arms for the division, would just stand on the other side of the cage and throw an elbow. Throw an elbow with nothing but distance in between him and Marcin Tybura. And one elbow landed once when they were close in the clinch, but then everything else was just Tai Tuivasa overstepping and elbowing for no reason. It was madness. So eventually, Marcin gets him up against the cage, gets him down, and Tai's answer to being put on the ground after being in the UFC for this long is about 5 seconds of scrambling. I hesitate to call it scrambling. It was more of a hip wiggle. It was more of a hip. I don't know what it was. It was like, oh, there's a scramble. No, there isn't. There isn't a scramble here. I don't know what the fuck it was. And then Marcin Tybura just starts teeing off on Tai Tuivasa, and Tai's defensive plan is to just see how many shots to the head he can take. No rolling, no more hip wiggling, nothing. Just accepting being beaten in the side of the head. Look, whoever put Tai Tuivasa as a main event in the fucking crowdless Apex, whoever organized that, cut them too, okay? This is Tai Tuivasa's career from now on. Marcin Tybura beat Tai Tuivasa. Fuck it, whatever, who cares? Give Marcin Tybura literally anyone. Who cares? This is what you do for Tai Tuivasa, okay? Anytime we're in Canada and the UFC hasn't been bothered to put a card on, or like 301 when they don't have any talent left, or when they go down to Perth and like the entire card is like Aussie fighters that us, the Aussies, care about, but no one globally cares about. And then you've got like a good co-main event and a good main event. On those sort of cards, you know the cards I'm talking about, on those sort of cards, you put Tai Tuivasa as either the featured prelim, so he comes out with some banging 90s music, gets knocked out or gets a knockout, and then does a shoey. Either way, does a shoey. Or you put him as the first card on a lackluster pay-per-view, the first fight in a lackluster pay-per-view, to get the pay-per-view started walking out to some classic 90s bangers, gets knocked out, gets a knockout, no matter what, does a shoey. Tai Tuivasa is there to be a fucking crowd pleaser, okay? That is his role. That is his purpose, right? And you put him in the fucking crowdless Apex, when we've just had one fat heavyweight last week literally quit mid-fight and not want to keep fighting. And when next week, you've got one half of the most boring fight in all of UFC history. That's what's happening this month at the Apex. And you fucking put Tai Tuivasa directly in the middle of it in front of no crowd. What were you thinking, UFC? Honest to God, what were you thinking? I called my mates. I'm going camping next weekend. Fuck it. I'm going camping next weekend. I get up, right, every single morning at 4:30 in the morning to go work a trade job, right? This was on a Sunday morning. I got out of bed at 6:30 in the morning, right? My girlfriend was next to me in bed, all warm and cuddly. And I was like, no, it's the UFC. I'm getting out of bed. I'm going to go watch the UFC. And that's what they're fucking giving us. Because the UFC have Adderalled UFC 300. I mean, they have taken all of the talent that is not on Ramadan and is available at this section of the year. They have taken all of the talent and just shoved it onto UFC 300. And they've fucked up this entire run of cards leading up to UFC 300. They had to go and knock on Aljo's grave and be like, do you want to come back and fight at UFC 301? They had to give Usyk, and I'm an Aussie, I like Usyk, I love his boxing, but they just like, hey, does anyone want a title shot? Usyk, you want a title shot? They've just cobbled together 301. They have ruined all of April. They have ruined the lightweight contender run because they've booked up all of the lightweight contenders. They've given Ilia Topuria, like, who is he going to fight? Who is he going to fight? Because Max Holloway is on UFC 300. They have just blown their entire load just to give us UFC 300 and wrecked, scorched earth, or everything around it. And this is what we get instead. So I'm going camping this weekend. If there's any good fights, I'll watch them on Sunday night afterwards. But I'm not sitting through another 6 hours of this shit. I'm not getting up at 6:30 in the morning to watch that crap. And they want to get paid like NBA players. Ange Loosa and Chandler and Brian Battle. They want to get paid like NBA players. Pay them more. See you next video.